G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you live from Rise Conference here in HK. Thanks to our partners Invest HK and Start Me Up HK. And I'm here with Amy Reid, who's the founder of Gifts Less Ordinary. How are you, Amy?
I'm very good, thank you, and thank you for interviewing me.
No worries. So how are you finding Rise so far?
Amazing. We've had such a great day today, an opportunity to meet loads of different people. Great for us in terms of finding business contacts, particularly as we're expanding a lot in the corporate B2B space. So we've had some really good connections, really good mentoring advice, got the opportunity to meet a lot of investors. So no, it's brilliant, and there's a real buzz around it.
So I understand you're a startup based out of Singapore, is that correct?
Yes, that's right, yes.
And so why have you come to Hong Kong?
Well, for us, we're in Hong Kong, so we actually, Gifts Less Ordinary is an online marketplace. We're in 9 different countries across Southeast Asia. Our dominant markets are Singapore and Hong Kong. Also my colleague Tara, who's behind the scenes, she's actually based in Hong Kong here. So this for us is a big growth opportunity, and we want to just expand across Southeast Asia. Coming to Rise in Hong Kong allows us to meet so many different startups, so many different companies, and try and find connections and partnerships to take us into new markets as well within the region.
What's some of the challenges about doing that cross-border growth, from Singapore to Hong Kong?
So we launched actually in Singapore and in Hong Kong. Our marketplace our online store in Hong Kong is tailored to the Hong Kong market. So we marry up local Hong Kong suppliers with international suppliers. So we try and find artisans who have beautiful creative products, locally themed products, with international suppliers who might have highly personalized gifts, things that you can't find in Asia. So for us, what we try and do is, I'm over in Hong Kong a lot, but we try and form great partnerships to kind of enable us to enter into Hong Kong. And we've also going to be speaking to Invest HK to try and work out how we can broaden our reach here. We spoke to some really good guys in terms of expanding the opportunity. And what was most interesting about today is that we realized that so many people are asking us to expand into markets across Southeast Asia where they know what we do isn't available there yet.
Okay, so it's those partnerships is the challenge, but also it seems to be very forthcoming as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we were overwhelmed today with people coming over to us, and or some people going, "Oh, we know you. Can you bring this into a different market? Would you manage our corporate gifting? Would you manage?" So for us, we've been overwhelmed with the opportunity, and it's one of the biggest things that we want to do as a business as well is to bring next day delivery into Asia. And that's something that we have in our pipeline, and it's going to be something that we're going to be announcing later on this year. So
fantastic. Yeah. And so what was your background before Gifts Less Ordinary?
So my background was, I've always worked in digital marketing. I worked in British BT, which is back in the UK, looking after their digital marketing channels. So almost before .com was .com, and kind of been through the boom and everything else.
I was there too.
I
was there in the UK, and I was doing work with BT.
Were you?
As an agency called Illusion Factor.
So we probably worked together.
You never know.
So we created a portal. It must have been about almost 20 years ago, which was when it was a .com, third-party portals and everything. And so I've always loved this space, the digital space, the online space, and then I went to work. We moved to Singapore. I worked in Facebook for a while, and then I worked in an insurance company looking after their marketing strategy and helping other businesses with their marketing growth plans. And then the time came when I had my 3rd child, and one of my friends sent a gift over that was so unique, so personalized, and overwhelmed. It's the gift boxing, the packaging, and realized that you just can't get this in Asia. And so our focus is on the quality, the customer service, the personalization, that kind of that all-round customer experience. So that I just saw the gap, and we've grown rapidly since then. Yeah,
fantastic. And so if you had your time again with growing a startup, would there be anything, one thing, many things that you would change? What would one of those things be?
I think the learning is, for me, the early days are very tough. I think it takes, and I think you expect when you launch everything to happen and you to kind of to expand rapidly. And I've come from digital marketing. I don't think you realize how to be a marketeer when you're spending your own money on the line. And I think you realize you have to learn and grow things so quickly. So you want to get that advice in early on. There's lots of things we change, but at the same time we wouldn't change anything because everything has brought us to this point.
So on that point about spending your own money, it's a very valid point. In fact, I've heard it a number of times when people go from big budget corporate, for example,
Absolutely.
BT and the like, to your own little tiny startup, with your own,
That's it.
$1,000 in your bank account. How do you spend it wisely? Yeah?
So for us as our business, is one of the biggest things that we find is that we have been profitable on our variable marketing costs for the last year and a half. And that's what we do is we work out, we need to spend we can only spend a certain amount in terms of marketing to make sure that we generate a positive and a profitable return. And I think that's been, it's been pivotal. So we've taken that learning in-house. We realise that we have to be on the figures every day. You have to be able to optimize. You have to be able to look for opportunities, and you'd have to learn very fast. And I think that's the key thing.
And so, has there been a channel of choice for you?
We've invested predominantly. We're on social, so I guess we're kind of like a social commerce platform. We do a lot with Facebook. We do a lot now with Google. So we look to optimize those channels. And I think
Instagram.
Instagram we do a lot of as well, but in terms of actually advertising spend, we probably spend it most in Facebook and Google.
Okay.
But we now recognise we're looking at new channels and forging partnerships to try and further enhance that.
Yeah, fantastic. And so where to from here for Gifts Less Ordinary? I think there was also an investor in the background here that kind of nudged you into the interview.
Yeah, she did.
So
She pushed me in. So for us, we've got big plans this year. We're launching into Indonesia, be later on this year. We're launching into another couple of other markets that we see big growth potential. We've just expanded to the UAE a few months ago, which has actually been a very good market for us. So for us, that's part of the plans. We're also expanding massively in our corporate and the corporate gifting. We're managing client relationships. So what we can do very differently is we can not only provide unique gifts, we can also provide the customized packaging. So it can be beautiful packaging within their brand. We come up with the stories behind the brands. So the brands that we work with are highly creative, artisan businesses. And so we can tell a story. So we're giving a gifting experience. So we're changing and evolving, corporate gifting from what you know it now, and working with very luxurious high-end brands to kind of to manage their corporate gifting needs. And then we have also introduced, as I said, our sub-brand, which is kind of like our own in-house brand to allow for personalization on the spot, next day delivery. We want to make.
So you're innovating just constantly, and that's important, right?
Exactly.
Someone said earlier to me that you almost need to put the products that you come out with first out of business, by constantly innovating and producing new products.
Yeah, and I think with our platform, what we've seen is we understand the customer behavior, we understand what customers want, we understand what drives e-commerce, and we want to, we know what they need. They want the next day, they want delivery within a shortened period of time, they want personalization, they want it to be bespoke, they want it to be unique to them, and that's something that has kind of
it's a good lesson learned.
Strategy.
And so what about, it's a very female-centric business I can see here. Is that the truth through the entire company, or?
No, we do have some guys, some boys in the company, but we are mainly women, a lot of women, but we are.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's so great to see, and I encourage it. I encourage it wholeheartedly. I have 3 daughters, and I believe in equality. So, has there been any pushback, or have you been, boosted up by the, I guess, ecosystem with regards to being a female founder?
I think as a female founder, you kind of engage. There's lots of support networks for females, and I think it's something that's kind of growing a lot more. For us, it's so important to kind of to surround ourselves with a network and to use that network. I think as a female entrepreneur, when I'm doing budget forecasting or targets, I'm very make sure that what we do is it feels such great pressure that we make sure that we deliver it. So we are, continually innovating and continually expanding, and we're trying to, to reach out to kind of like good support networks like our investor group, and who can help us grow and expand the business the way we want to. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that in Asia, which is good.
And is there something that the ecosystem could do more of to help support female founders? What would that be?
I think it's all about networking. I think it's about leveraging learnings, and I think it's about supporting one another. And it's not just the females, but connecting with the guys. Got some amazing investor groups out there, and you want that mentoring, that support. You know what you're good at, and I think it's just being able to kind of like open up to finding those channels and those individuals.
Yeah. So guys, you need to be more inclusive. You got a lot of lessons that you can obviously impart.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not just about females. Obviously, supporting females is about equality, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think whoever is an entrepreneur, they have that passion, that drive, regardless of whether they're female or male. They can make it happen. I think these sort of like places like Rise are the platforms to enable that. There
was a lady I was just talking to before, and she hasn't built up the confidence to take that leap into her own startup yet. And I'd love for her to meet you, because I think, when you meet founders like yourself, I think that you would actually inspire her. So hopefully she's at least watching this. If not, she comes to meet you face to face. Thanks so much for your time, Amy.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you. Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for watching, guys. We're live on facebook.com/Beach City Live. We're here tomorrow as well. Maybe a few more coming out right now. And we're also on YouTube and LinkedIn. Just search for Beach City.